Start with an easy one. Any team news, injury news from ahead of the weekend?
No, by and large, well, good. Keston Davis, who was out for last week, he's fit, so he's been training during the week. Other than the sort of longer term boys, Matt Tootle trained today, did a little bit of stuff on his own Monday and Tuesday, and trained today. So, you know, with a bit of luck and a clear run, he'll be back in the fold probably from next week. So it's good.
For yourself, your first full week without a game, I guess, to look at people in training and get your teeth into things. How's that gone?
Been great. Obviously, I had that little spell at the start when we had no game that weekend as well. So we tried to get cracking then as well. It's been good. You know, there's things that we knew we needed to do with the group. But they won't happen in week one. They probably won't happen for 4 or 5 weeks. You know, even the physical side, the fitness element, them things can't be created overnight. But we've started that process now. So, you know, I think there might be a little bit of short-term pain as far as, you know, it's not ideal. They're not probably in the position we want them to be in just yet. But over the coming weeks, hopefully that will improve massively.
So is now a case for you more of assessment rather than implementing, perhaps?
Bit of both. Certainly implementing. You know, every game that goes by, you need more stats, and it gets harder. So, you know, we have to try and be as competitive as we can straight away and pick up every scrap for every point we can straight away while we try and improve and get things better. So, I do believe we will get things better, but I do believe that's not a short fix. But we need to scrap and pick up every point we can in the meantime.
Game against Mansfield, it may not have gone your way, but I think there were signs, certainly in the first part of the game, that there was improvement. What did you take from that game?
Same as I took from the Sunderland game. I thought for the first 35, 40 minutes of the game, really good. You know, we had 2 or 3 great chances against Sunderland, played some good stuff at times, and we had the same at Mansfield. I think if you'd have stopped the game 35 minutes in, a fair result would have probably been 1-1 or 2-2. Both teams had their chances, but we were toe-to-toe and it was good. Obviously, the common theme in both of them was how we started the second half and the way we lost our way a little bit. So you know, they're things that we're trying to improve.
I guess some of them were defensive lapses. What can you do to cut that out from the team?
Well, it's been a common theme. The way we work is it's everybody's job to defend. So from Steady and Kane Emmons, Christian Dennis at the front, you know, they have to do the right things from the front. And on the flip side, it's everybody's job to attack from the back. You know, the quality of the balls forward from centre backs and stuff like that are massive. So, you know, we don't do an us and them. We're not going to look at the defence and just say it's all the defence's fault, but ultimately they are the last line, and there is things that we need to do better. So we've worked hard on it. You know, I've got Norm, Steve Chettle and Coxey, and they're all defensive minded. So they've been working very, very hard with the back players.
Often talk to players when they arrive about how it is for them to settle in a club, but I wonder about the logistics of a manager. You said on your arrival you wanted to get to know everybody from top to the bottom at the club. Has that been quite a big task for you?
It has, because I'm really bad with names. So I meet people, I have really good fun and banter with them, and then I come back the next day and go, oh, what was their name again? So, no, it's been brilliant. I've tried to, you know, we've based ourselves more at the training ground, Baseford, in the mornings to do our work, to get our prep right. And then afterwards, I always come back here and try and spend a bit of time with Jason and with the guys in the office, and do a bit of my work in my office. So I'm trying to get that balance right to be able to do it. And like you say, any community events, any stuff like that, you know, the good thing is me and Coxey are in and around. We haven't got our families to go home to, so we can commit to a lot of that as well. But ultimately, the main thing that needs to happen is some picking up some points along the way, so that all of that can be a positive on the side of it.
And how are you personally setting into the city and the surroundings?
Lovely city, we love it. Me and Coxey have only just yesterday had TV installed into our house, so we had 10 days of looking at 4 walls and no internet. We felt like we was back in the Stone Ages, but we've finally got that done now, and my wife's going to come up this weekend and come at the first game, and so she's coming up today. So we're settling in, and you start to get a little bit more of a routine. But love the city, love the club, just desperate to get it in a place where we can all take a deep breath and look forward.
I guess in the early stages there really is little downtime, because not only are you running a football club, but because you're new, I guess you've got so many things to consider and to overview. It must be 24/7.
Yeah, of course. You know, you already look at January, you look at the amount of players we've got. We've got a lot of players. So you're already trying to plan for that, trying to look at what we feel the team needs, if it needs strengthening. So we've had meetings on that, meetings with the chairman, meetings with Paul Arp, meetings with ourselves. So, you know, you're doing kind of that. Then you've got to deal with the players and get them in a good place, ready to go and be competitive in the games. You know, so there's a long and short-term plan in there, and the most important one at the moment is the short-term.
I heard the owner say that he wanted to get players off the wage bill. Do you think there is, though, a green light somewhere in there for you to bring players in if you can?
I think the owner's been very honest with me from the start, and you know, fair play to him. He's seriously put his money where his mouth is this season, and spent a lot of money trying to take this club forward. It hasn't worked, so ultimately now I can't expect him to keep putting his hand in his pocket and make a difficult situation worse. What needs to happen is we need to find the money, and it needs to be cost neutral. So we need to, whatever we can bring in, we can spend. And I think that's fair and that's right, and that makes it more challenging because you don't know what you've got to spend, because you don't know what you can get out to bring in. So there's lots of challenges in there, but we're working hard. I think in the next 5 or 6 days going into next week, I think we're going to be covering 8 or 9 games amongst the staff and 1 or 2 people that are helping out in recruitment. So I think you know, there's definitely an intention there to try and improve the squad.
How much are you looking forward to Saturday and a home game in front of the not supporters?
Can't wait. It feels like I've been here weeks. It really does feel, well, probably I've been here weeks, but it feels like I've been here months. It feels like I've been here a long time. So yeah, going that long and too tough. You know, the Sunderland team we played was very, very strong, and we put up a good battle. And obviously Mansfield were flying high, and that was a tough day because I could see what it meant to the fans. And I did want to start with that dream start where they, you know, they give me the keys to the city almost after getting a result there, but it wasn't to be. But you know, we're working really, really hard, and I think the message is, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. Let's really help get behind, and don't get frustrated if it doesn't seem like it's turned, you know, in the space of a week or 2. We will get there. I'm confident of that, but we just need to, you know, go through these next few weeks and pick up what we can and build from that.
Final question, Tranmere is your opponent on Saturday. What are their strengths? Why do you think they're at the top end of the table?
Very, very good manager. Come up against Mickey a lot of times. Great company afterwards in the office. You look at their team, they've been strong at the back. You know, McNulty brings experience to them and know-how, and at the other end, you know, they've been banging in goals for fun with Norwood and the strikers. So, you know, games are won in both boxes at both ends, and if you're not giving away cheap goals at one end and you've got strikers that are on a roll and scoring, banging in goals, that's the rest of it kind of fits in and around it. So they're a good team, and that's not to dismiss the rest of the team. They work incredibly hard for their managers give them good structure. They've just got a way at the moment that's got them promoted last year. They've stayed on a crest of a wave. They know how to win games, and as we well know, you know, we can't look and go, oh, they're above us, because there's 22 others above us at the moment, so literally every game will be. But at the moment, we've got to put in a performance that asks Tranmere to be at the very best to get something from the game.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Neil, given the fact that Notts haven't won in 9 games, there's no home win for 2 months, well, over 2 months now, you could be forgiven for thinking the players were low on confidence. How were they on Monday morning when they reported back for training after the weekend?
They were very, very low after the game. You know, Mansfield were celebrating outside. You could hear it, and I made them listen to it. I told them, listen to that. I said, take that feeling that you've got now, how hurt you are and how low you are. I said, you know, we've got to play them again in a couple of months. We've got loads of games in between then. We need to make sure that we improve and we're better. And sometimes you have to, them moments, you can hit rock bottom and bottom out. We're not doing enough. We haven't done enough, as you just said, them stats to win games of football, and the league table never lies. You look at your reasons, and we've conceded a lot of goals. Haven't had enough clean sheets. You can't have to score 2 every game to win. So it's hard, because I'm trying to, football's an entertainment business as well, and I'm trying to get a team that goes forward and has got attacking threats in. I like my team to look like they've got goals in them, and that's what we've worked hard on. But in the same vein, we've been at our most vulnerable at times when we've been going forward. In the last 2 goals, we've been on the attack when the opposition has scored, or certainly the last 2 games, and that's what happened. So, yeah, they're hurting, but we did video analysis with them. We don't single people out. We show them what, why. They take it on the chin. They go, okay. We go on the training field. We work, and we're positive with them. And hopefully that win will come.
Last season, Notts were under Kevin were well known for their, as you would have known yourself, were well known for their solidity, and the clean sheets were the strength of their defence. This season, it's gone the other way. How do you go about trying to bring back that defensive solidity that Notts have had but haven't got at the minute, which, as you say, is costing the team so dearly? Yeah.
Well, there's a number of things. Number one, we flagged where a lot of our goals had come from, and we've worked hard at that. We had when I first came in, we had a 2.5 hour meeting on set pieces, on corners, and how we would defend them. And there was myself, Paul Hart, Mark Crossley, Steve Chetwell. We chewed the fat, and we come up with what we thought was the best way to defend them, and then we've worked hard on them. So that was one way, and I think by and large we've done that well in the last couple of weeks. The next one was we've conceded a lot from crosses, so we've done a lot of work on defending crosses, and at Sunderland they did it brilliantly. People got crosses in, but we defended them brilliantly. The other day we let ourselves down with one of them, and we did a bit of video analysis. So you go back to some of the causes of why you're conceding, but it's very, very difficult because I can set the team up and play a back 4 and play 2 sitting midfielders and tell them they can't move, and tell the team only you front 4 can attack, but you 2 have got to get back in, and be very, very rigid 4-4-2 and don't let people run out the holes and hope we do enough to score a goal. But I mean, that's not how I like to do it, and I think eventually you will invite enough that it might be a problem. And the way I've done it in the past in my managerial stuff, even though we've conceded goals, most of the time in my career the stats have been massively in my team's favour, and we've come away going, well, we might have conceded a goal or we might have conceded 2, but our goalies had nothing to do, and that's a better place to be at the moment than Ross being man of the match most weeks. So we need to turn it so that we come away, and if we do concede, we go, well, that's the only chance they had, and they've happened to take it.
3 home games in the month of December, starting on Saturday. How important do you think that advantage is over the festive period? Because we know it's always a busy, and can be telling as well over as the season progresses. Yeah, and that's where I know the fans have had a really, really tough time of it, and I could see that when I went over to Clapham on Saturday. I could see the frustration in their eyes, and that's where they can be really, really important. We can't guarantee we win games of football. What I can try and guarantee is that the performance levels are high, and we try and give ourselves a great chance of winning games of football. Obviously, you need a bit of luck, the composure to finish it, and etc. etc. But I think them home games are going to be crucial. And I had it at Wimbledon at times where I called out to the fans and said, "Look, we're having a tough time. Can we really get behind us? Can really help us?" And you can see there's a little bit of nervousness in the players, but the moment you moan and groan about everything they do wrong, it will send us the other way. So really, really generate a brilliant atmosphere. And they stood up, and at times it was a massive help. So I believe in the next month, despite the frustrations, we've got an unbelievable set of fans here. If they can really just kind of put aside where we are and say, this is our club and we're going to make sure we're where we want to be at the end of the season, we're going to play our role, I think that can be huge. And that the players have got to make them want to cheer with their effort and their energy. But I'll push hard to take care of that part, and if we join together, we can make these 3 home games really important. Are you a manager that sits there with his coaching staff and players and looks at specific points targets? At the end of December, we want X amount. Well, we'd like to have X amount based on the games we've got, or do you literally do you not think that far ahead? I think you've got to plan. Listen, when I interviewed for the Wimbledon job, Dave Bassett was in on the interview process, and he said to me, "You need to get 48 points to stay up." And I hadn't thought I'd come out of academy football. I was like a rabbit in the headlights, and I was like 40 about. Well, actually, we needed to get 53. We won the last game of the season to get 53 to stay up, and that's the highest there's ever been in the last 8 years, typically. So, I've kind of been scarred by that. So I start thinking I've got to get to a certain amount of points, and Alan's even upped that by 2 more and got it to 55. So, which I'm sure I never said, but I think he's just pushing me to go higher. But
you know, I do look at it. You know, when I did that interview process here at Notts, there was 28 games to go, 4 blocks of 7 games. So you need to look at them 7 games. There's 4 blocks of them. What do you need to get to your points total? And ultimately, you know, it works out about 9 points every 7 games. You know, give or take, to get to that target. So in the first block of 3 games, we've only got 2 points. We need to find 7 points in the next 4 games to be able to reach that first target, to be on course to get where we need to go. So you do need to kind of set them. Obviously, at times you're going to come short, but you might overload it, and we might have to go on a run. We might not get to the 9 in the first block, but we might have to get 11 or 12 in the second, and so on and so forth. But hopefully we'll have a fitter, stronger, better team in 4 weeks' time, 5 weeks' time than we might have now, with injuries coming back and maybe the odd new signing. So there's hope there, but we just got to, as well, we've got to pick up what we can and nick what we can along the way.
Based on what you just said then, how closely do you look at the other fixtures? Because I know we get to the end of the season and managers talk about, you know, permutations and what other fixtures are happening. You've got Cambridge and Yeovil playing this weekend, for example, which will have a direct impact on if you were to win, you drag them closer. Do you take too much focus?
No interest. Coxie said it to me yesterday. There was a few around us playing each other, and I don't even look. If we don't get our part right, it doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah. What happens to the opposition? So, you know, we have to hit points totals and not worry about that further down the line. You know, I think anyone can beat anyone. I think there's probably 2 or 3 teams at the top, maybe 3 or 4 that are probably a bit above the rest. But other than that, you think anyone can beat anyone in this league. So we've got to hit them targets. If we hit them targets, it doesn't really matter what anyone else does. There's going to be somebody not hitting them targets that's going to end up below us.
Just a couple more from me. The first one, there was a reserve game in midweek. Anybody there that kind of played their way into your thinking for the weekend and beyond?
They played well. They did really well. They worked, certainly the stuff we've worked on, they did it better than anyone has so far, you know, and they caused Rotherham all sorts of problems. The problem they have from it is Rotherham did let us know they were going to be quite young. So ultimately we were playing quite a young Rotherham team, and I thought that showed in the game. I'm always of the belief, and I try and say this to the players regularly, when you train with the first team, that's your best opportunity to prove you're ready for first team football. Because when you're training with the first team, you're training with first team players. So, you know, in the past at Wimbledon, I've given 17-year-olds debuts at centre back. And the chief executive said to me before, are they ready? And I said, well, they've been marking Akinfenwa and Lyle Taylor in training every day and doing well. There's a good benchmark there. 2 of the best players in that league at the time, and they're marking them, you know, whereas they could play in a 23s game at times and you wouldn't know if it was an under-18 player up against them, and they can look comfortable, but there's no comparison. So the games are great for their game understanding, the games are great for that, and sometimes the games where they come up against a strong team are great for that respect. But I'll see just as much in training. I used to say to the boys, you've been playing really, really well in the 23s, I want to see it in training, up against first team players. So that's where I'll probably get my, I might put him in on Saturday type mentality.
Yeah, I know we touched on it with Paul a moment ago about January, but you have spoken before about the size of the squad here and how you're going to have to move players out if you're going to move players in. Just kind of, have you got a list of targets you've kind of got in the back of your mind that you maybe had at Wimbledon that you've got since? And also, how do you go about trying to get players out of the club and get, because obviously if they're not playing for Notts, not playing well for Notts, a team that are struggling, it's difficult maybe to get them to be attractive to other potential teams.
With great difficulty. It's none of that's easy. We've had several meetings on what type we think we need to bring in, but you know, if I said to you what type we're in, when I was at Wimbledon in my first year fighting relegation, we said we need captains. Well, no one's going to want to let captains go. We happened to sign 2 club captains at the time, Gary Alexander and Alan Bennett, and they helped keep us up. We did well to do that. But you go through it and you go, what do we need? Whether it's athleticism, whether it's this, whether it's pace, whatever. You know, you have to start with what do we need and then work your way through it. And we probably can't afford our ideal scenario, experience, knowledge, you know, games under the belt, whatever. So we'll have to have them lists drawn up of the type, and then go through a process of trying to work to that type. As far as getting out, which is really, really important, that is difficult. And you know, I'm a manager. I treat people the way they want to be treated. I don't treat people with disrespect. It happens at some clubs, they'll get my full respect. I'll sit them down, I'll be honest with them. If they're not in my plans, I'll say, look, you know, this is where it is. I'll help you. If you want to go and play football, we need to try and work together to make that happen. And if they don't, I'll do my best to coach them and manage them within the structure that I've got and the players I've got, and not treat them poorly. And that's how it'll work. And
ultimately, you've got a squad of players here that largely got to a playoff semi-final last year. So you kind of need to see more from the players you've got in your dressing room. That, as you said earlier on, that Alan Hardy's spent an awful lot of money on putting together so far.
Yeah, you do. I think there's two things. You do. Fresh faces always help. You know, if you can bring in a few to, people look around and go, oh, well, he's not been brought in not to play. And you know, all of a sudden, if you've got players that walked into your team early on in your tenure, and all of a sudden they're having to push to stay in the team, you're already improving the team without even realising it. So, and in order to do that, one or two have got to go the other way and go and get some playing time elsewhere. So it's no set thing that any particular players on that list. I've only been here 2.5 weeks, but we do need to, in the next 3 weeks, start actioning that. And like you say, that work, as well as trying to be competitive and win games, that work has to go on behind the scenes. But I've said to the chairman, and I've said, me and Paul Hart have spoke as well, you know, we're going to have to take some short-term pain here. And that, when I say that, I mean in the time we're spending just trying to build their base of fitness, get it better so that we can be played the way I want to play a bit more. And on the flip side, the time we spend evolving the team to become stronger, we need to scrap and pick up what we can in the meantime. So, you know, let's not get any panic buttons over the course of the next few weeks. We'll get there.
Jake? Neil? Just wanted to touch on something you mentioned about that you made the players list to the Mansfield, Mansfield cheering after the game. How did they react to that? They were hurting. No doubt they're hurting. And I know the fans were disappointed in that with the performance, but ultimately on the day Mansfield ended up being better than us. You know, 45 minutes was tight, but the second half they were better. So you know, our challenge is in 2.5 months' time, when Mansfield come back, is to be a better team, both on and off the pitch, with the way we go about our work, with strength that we bring in, etc. And I just said to the boys, listen to it, take it in, let it hurt you, let it be your motivation to be better in thing. And they nodded and they accepted that was a bad day, and we were, you know, the pain was killing us, but hopefully it will be the motivation for better things. And you've said there as well, it was a case of a better performance in the first half than the second, and that things got a tiny bit raggedy as the game went on. Is that down to fitness? Can you put that down to anything?
A bit of both. One of the hardest things in football is to chase games. Team that score first normally have a 70% chance of winning the game, or at least getting something from it. So the hardest thing is to chase games, and one of the hardest things is to physically chase games, because when you're chasing a game and you need to put the team under pressure, you need to go 2v2 at the back at times. You need to throw caution to the wind. Have we got the players to do that? Probably not. You know, I don't think, you know, necessarily that's the strength of our maybe some of our defending players. You know, they're more intelligent, more senior players, so it becomes even harder. And when you're chasing games and you're desperate and anxiety kicks in, it's very, very tiring. So I wouldn't put it all down to fitness. I would say chasing games is difficult. So we've just got to get ourselves in a position where we're not doing it as much.
And on a personal level, we touched on it as well about you settling in here. How important is that social environment for yourself and getting into a sort of routine here?
Absolutely. You know, there's loads of things. You know, Coxie and I work together. We know each other well. We took the staff into town for a Christmas drink on Tuesday. Just had a meal and a drink just outside of the football environment. You know, I think the staff are getting used to the fact that they go, you know, we have a togetherness. We try and build a togetherness within our staff that will rub off on the players, where they see the staff getting on great, they see the staff's relationship, they can have banter, we can enjoy each other's company. We're on it though, every little detail, we're not missing out, we talk regularly, and that's what we're trying to build to carry on to the team. And if the team see how well the staff gets on their relationship, it should rub off.
And how have you and Coxie been working with Norman Chettle since you've been?
Brilliantly, great lads. I did my B licence many years ago. Norm was on that. So we telling some stories the other night from there, and Steve Chet was great. He's very studious, wants to get better, wants to learn. I gave him a book, one of my best books that I've had the other day I said, you should read that, it's one of the best books I've ever read. He'd read it by the time we got off the coach. It was incredible. Like, we did a journey, he was got straight into it. So no, great, I get on with him well. And you know, I said to him, my job's to lead, as a manager should, pick the team, do all that kind of stuff, but I've got a lot of knowledge on that staff, and I always say to them, I want your opinion, not mine, you know, so I let them challenge me.
You mentioned there about sharing stories with Norm. Are there any of those that you're able to share?
Let's just say they had a residence bar at Keele University that they kept open as long as anyone wanted to have a drink in there. So you can imagine there was some late nights, but we'd join in every session on the coaching course the next day. So we burned the candle at both ends a little bit.
And even just in this press conference, I've noticed that you've talked a lot about stats and how important they are.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a statistician?
I think you've got yes, I think they're important. I think even if you watch, you know, Sky now and you watch the telly now, they've got stats on everybody, you know, particularly in the Premier League, and you know, not just people that score the goals, who creates the chances, the assists, the running stats. They've got everything. So I think they're all important. You can't hide from stats, but there's an element of your eyes and telling your eyes, you know. So if we sat in a room now as football fans and we just talked about football in general, I don't think we would disagree on what would be key things that would win games of football. I think we'd all agree you need to have attempts on target from good areas, from inside the box. Most go from inside the box, and so on and so forth. And if you're putting crosses in, it's better to have 3 in the box, not 1 in the box, and so on and so forth. So everything you do between the boxes, in your style, in your structure, all of it's to weigh that in your favour. So Manchester City, when you watch them play, their stats are huge in their favour. They get into the box with the right players. Obviously, they've got the right quality compared to what the opposition do against them. And that gives them a great chance, outstanding chance with them to win games of football. So everything you do is for that. So then when you look back and you collect them stats, if you collect them and if you analyse them, they're important to see what you can do better, where you might be. Now at Wimbledon, regularly we had the stats in our favour. And over the course of the season, even the average was showing. So it's not an exact science, because at the time we wasn't necessarily winning games. But we should have won a lot more than we'd lost, because the stats were in our favour. And even the averages over the season were in our favour. So here, in my first 2 games, we've had some promising moments, but the stats have been in the opposition's favour slightly. So both games, it's no surprise, particularly with the way we have defended at times, it's no surprise that we haven't won them games. We've got to try and put them in our favour, so that after the game, you're all saying, even as press, how did we not win that? If you're going to lose a game, let's come off going, cool, how did we not win that? And that's a better place to be than, can't see where we're going to get that's the aim.
Said there, sort of like you build into that moment, it might be 4 or 5 weeks until we see a bit more consistency. Is it just about improving performances until that point then, in that case? Yeah,
that's all I can do. I can't guarantee a result, you know. At the moment there's 22 teams better than us. I think that's what's where we are at the moment. So we can focus on the levels of the performance. We can focus on, you know, I put it in the players' minds all the time. I try and show them the justification in everything we're doing, both on the training field. Them numbers are important. If we get them in our favour, we're going to give ourselves a chance of winning games of football. So we're focusing on it. We're focusing on trying to create that. Obviously, there's a good team in the way on the opposition, who more often than not this season have been better at doing that. So if we can chip away at it and add a bit of quality along the way, and get stronger, then hopefully we'll spin them around where I'm having a press conference and saying to you, last 4 games, the stats have been in our favour.
What kind of game do you think Tranmere will bring on Saturday?
Good tempo. It's been 4-4-2 the last few weeks. Obviously, front 2 are scoring goals, full of confidence. They like to play forward. They like to run forward. They'll get in our faces. They'll press. You know, they'll believe that they can hurt us, and probably a lot of teams should when you're playing against a team down the bottom. Our job's to make sure, first and foremost, we have a real attack intent that causes them a problem. But more important than that, we're not 2-0 down chasing the game, and that's for everybody to make sure we're diligent in our defending.
Just finally for me, we've briefly touched on it already, but how much are you looking forward to leading that team at Meadow Lane?
It'll be great. Like I say, my wife's coming down because she wanted to be here for the first home game. Whenever I walk to this stadium, I think, wow, you know, it's great. This stadium's got a real thing about it. It's like I said before, it's a proper football club, and if we can get this place rocking, I know things have been tough, like I say, but if the fans can, it's always
it's easy to cheer a team when they're doing well. It's hard to be a brilliant fan when your team's not doing well and you're feeding on scraps. Well, that's where we are at the moment. So if we come to the game knowing that, then let's make sure that the noise when we are feeding on them scraps is brilliant, and we get behind the team and we push them, because if we're going to stay up, everyone's going to have to play their part.